HvH, or hacker versus hacker, is what thousands of people play every day. It might seem like it's always been popular, but that hasn't always been the case. Our community has come a long way, and we would like to share that journey with you today. Counter-Strike Global Offensive was released in 2012, but it all started long before that. The HvH community wasn't as large or as active as it is today. Initially, the HvH scene was closer to more of a dev versus dev format compared to what we are used to now. It's a difficult time to analyze. Not that many people played, and everyone remembered it differently. What can be stated with confidence, though, is that the foundation was laid. So, for our journey today, we will start our story from 2014. At that time, there were no projects that were specifically made for HvH. Most people were basically just rage hacking against legit players. But then, things took a sudden turn. A new project introduced anti-aims that no one could hit. Though it may sound funny now that it was just a simple spin bot or a static backward anti-aim, it was after this moment that other coders began to consider what could be done with this. Around this time, the first full-fledged HvH project emerged, the functionality of which was aimed specifically at fighting other cheaters. Shortly after, other projects that are still known to this day began to emerge. CSGO, being a new game then, had its share of exploits. A major one, known as nospread, had a significant impact on HvH. This exploit allowed cheaters to shoot without any spread, even hitting targets mid-air with an AWP. This was because the weapon spread used to be calculated on the client side, instead of the server side. That same year, Valve ended up fixing this vulnerability. Players that were used to the no-spread feature started hosting their own servers with no spread allowed. Around this time, the first invite-only cheats appeared. Shortly after no spread was patched, players began pondering the future of HvH. The community was divided. One half went to specialized servers with no spread enabled, and the other half stayed on the official Valve servers. Although the two-game rule still worked just fine, sadly that wasn't enough for many. Right at that moment, the first popular HvH servers appeared, which will forever remain in the hearts of those who had the chance to play on them. You may remember them by the names of Rantees, CT Hook, Brutality, and so on. Later that year, some new HvH cheat providers emerged, solidifying their place in the HvH history. 2017 was a crucial year in the history of HvH. Most of the discoveries were made during this time. With the launch of Operation Hydra, the game introduced a 2v2 game mode called Wingman. This game mode was immediately loved by the community, mainly because it was more competitive, and of course there was no Overwatch. It nearly felt like this game mode was initially designed for HvH. It has since become the preferred HvH format. Additionally, 2017 was notable for the discovery of new features that dramatically changed HvH. 2018 became truly legendary. This year is often called the best in the history of HvH. Many loved it so much that even today, some play the 2018 version of CSGO. This version is so iconic, it even got its separate name, CSGO Legacy. Numerous intriguing exploits emerged at that time, which significantly altered the game. The year was eventful, starting with the introduction of the Overwatch in the Wingman game mode and ending with the close of an era, which could only be fully comprehended the following year. The end of one story is usually the beginning of another. At the end of 2018, Valve released a significant update. Initially, coders studied all the new changes, allowing them to find foundational features that still exist to this day. CSGO became free-to-play, leading to a massive influx of players. At that point, a notorious cracked version of a well-known cheat was released. This year can rightfully be considered the largest in terms of audience for both CSGO and HvH. 2020 stood out with the introduction of the low delta anti-aim, the addition of the trust factor, and the patch of the two-game rule. Valve decided to make life harder for cheaters, and their first step was to limit the fake lag on the official servers. This turned HvH on official servers into a unique subculture. Still, a significant portion of the HvH audience continued playing on community servers. although that year witnessed the largest HvH broadcast, whose online record remains unbeaten. It was in this year that the story of NEVERLOSE began. 2021 was the most controversial year in the history of HvH. That year had it all: the most famous crack in CSGO history, the opening of NEVERLOSE, and the discovery of the so-called defensive exploit. All of this permanently altered the history of HvH. And just when it seemed nothing more could happen, Valve changed HvH again by launching an operation called Riptide. At first glance, it seemed nothing had changed, but that was not the case. There were a lot of changes for cheats. The main one was an update to the animation system, which caused the roles appeared. The year concluded with the discovery of a way to combat the defensive exploit. Starting from 2022, there were almost no significant and drastic changes, perhaps with the exception of major updates of NEVERLOSE. Other projects stopped releasing major updates, but we kept evolving. An essential milestone for us was the release of the 3.0 update in August 2022. One could confidently say that this update was a complete rethinking of the entire product. Of course, there were issues, but all the necessary fixes and enhancement came out in subsequent updates. Fast forward to now, NEVERLOSE has received its noteworthy 3.3 version update. In the HvH community, there was a claim that was disrupted by a huge announcement from Valve: Counter-Strike 2. Many players initially thought HvH might end up on CS2 release, but as soon as the builds from closed testing were leaked online and onto cheating forums, it became evident that HvH was facing massive changes that will take a long time to understand. This year has shown that the world does not stand still, and things can change at any moment, as it happened on the night of September 27 with the release of CS2. This marks the end of this video, but not the history of HvH. As we've seen throughout the chronology, HvH constantly evolved, reinvented itself, and never stood still. However, HvH, it's with us forever. We'll be waiting for your comments below this video. You might point out some important points we missed. Feel free to also share topics you would like to learn about in future videos. Throughout this video, we have hidden several Easter eggs containing subscription activation codes, and we're starting a giveaway for all commenters. The rules are simple: like the video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a meaningful comment with your NEVERLOSE username at the end of it. Thank you for watching. This has been the NEVERLOSE team. Stay tuned for more insights in our upcoming videos.